And we're back. I'm Jeffrey Kerr here with Alex Meyer discussing our predictions for the Emmy Awards this Sunday night. We've gone through the comedy series categories. We've gone through the drama series categories. Now we're getting on to the limited series TV movie categories. So the next category we'll be discussing is Outstanding Limited Series. And Alex, read off the nominees.
All right, and these categories are often my favorites at the Emmys Awards because there's always a new batch every year of these shows. All right, so for Outstanding Limited Series, the nominees are Big Little Lies, Fargo, Joan, Genius, and The Night of.
All right, so unlike last year when The People vs. O.J. Simpson was such an enormous juggernaut that swept through a lot of these categories, the award for Outstanding Limited Series this year is more up for grabs. And at the Creative Arts Awards last weekend, The Night of won 4, including picture editing, while Big Little Lies won 3, including casting. They each got one of 2 important categories that were required to win this award. So what are your rankings?
Well, I have Big Little Lies in first place, mainly because it did win the casting award. If The Night of had won that, I would have put The Night of in first place, but I do have The Night of in second. Then I have Feud, Betty and Joan in third, Fargo in fourth, and Genius in fifth. Now, until after the Creative Arts to make my Emmy predictions, because I don't like to always go back and change things every day, because I just like to make them and be done with it. But bad for that, because if I had made my predictions before the Creative Arts, I probably would have put Feud, Betty and Joan in second place and The Night of in third. But because The Night of to people's expectations, that's why I have it in second place and Feud, Betty and Joan in third.
Well, yeah, I was about to say I have the same exact 5 rankings. And, well, yeah, I think with all the acclaim and supports Big Little Lies have received, I do think it's slightly out front. So, of course, The Night of, which aired over a year ago, still got its fair share of support as well through, I guess, its overperforming in nominations and as well as how well it did at the Creative Arts last weekend. And while Feud, which I do have in third place, may have brought support from the Creative Arts branches, it won 2 awards last weekend for hairstyling and makeup. It wasn't nominated for picture editing, which could leave it on shaky grounds, which is why I have it ranked in third.
Yeah, I took that into consideration as well, but I based my how Feud, Betty and Joan, I guess, underperformed to expectations at the Creative Arts to a certain degree.
Well, yeah, I believe it was. I'm sorry.
Oh. But then again, most of its key nominations are in the Primetime race, and often a lot of double or triple nominations in some of the categories.
Yes, and I was about to say that I believe it lost some of its categories to The Handmaid's Tale and The Crown.
Yeah, I think I know The Crown won. Yeah, Crown won costumes, and Handmaid's Tale won production design.
Well, yeah, especially overall the detailed work Judy Becker had to do when in recreating certain locations for Feud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Feud, the ones that did win, it won hairstyling and I believe non-prosthetic makeup for a limited series, because there's like 4 makeup categories, 3 non-prosthetic for various types, and then 1 catch-all prosthetic category.
And unlike the Oscars, they actually have more than 3 nominees.
I know, yeah, I don't get why that's still at the Oscars only 3 nominations for the makeup category. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, so that's another conversation for another time.
Yeah.
So, as for Outstanding Television Movie, the nominees are Black Mirror for San Junipero, Dolly Parton's Christmas of Many Colors, Circle of Love, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, Sherlock, The Lying Detective, and The Wizard of Lies. So, You again, this is another category you might as well throw darts on the board to predict a winner. Though the Black Mirror probably does have the advantage of being the only nominee here that has a corresponding nomination for writing. So that is my first place. So what about you?
Yeah, I have that in first place as well, due to the nomination too. Then I have The Wizard of Lies in second place, Sherlock the Lying Detective in third, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks in fifth, and Dolly Parton's Christmas in Many Colors, Circle of Love in fifth.
Okay,
Now that last one, I did not see that coming at all.
same here. So it's I mean, I guess most that I'll really get at the Emmys is Dolly Parton being there and presenting, but maybe with Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin.
But that just leaves the question of what they'll be presenting, because that'll be interesting.
Oh,
if
yeah.
they do present as a trio.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but aside from that, I have most of the same rankings, except I have Sherlock in second with The Wizard of Lies in third. Because, I mean, Sherlock did manage to win last year for The Abominable Bride over All the Way, which I'm sure a lot of us predicted. I did as well, especially given that was the only television movie nominee that got in for directing. But no, Sherlock pulled through, so could it do it again this year?
I have The Wizard of Lies in second place because even though it only has 4 nominations, it still has a little more support than Sherlock, because I think Sherlock's only other nomination is for Benedict Cumberbatch, and I think that's it. So it seems to be showing some waning support, whereas The Wizard of Lies, while it doesn't have that many nominations, they're all crucial ones, because it's nominated for TV movie, got 2 acting nominations, and then casting, which are ingredients you need, some of the key ingredients to win a category like this. But since it doesn't have a writing or directing nomination, that's what gives Black Mirror an edge over that.
Well, yes, and in fact, I should probably point out that Sherlock this year actually has 4 nominations overall. The other 2 were for the sound categories on the creative side.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, well,
there's so many categories I can't remember everything.
Yes, I understand. So with The Abominable Bride, however, well, yeah, I believe that had several more nominations last year. It got 6 nominations overall, and I was only able to win visual effects on the creative side.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, well, All the Way got 10 nominations and won nothing.
But, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens here, because this category isn't as strong as like the limited series category.
Yeah, that is a good point. So
there's no
clear front
TV movie that has like that has like everyone having a strong, passionate fan base. Probably Black Mirror, I'm sure, has a very strong fan base, but with the limited series category, have like very strong, passionate fan bases who will be championing for each of them to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So ready for the next category?
Yep. And oh yeah, this is a big one. Mm-hmm. This is going to be this is my second big bet, and that is lead actress in a limited series or movie. And oh boy, we have some heavy hitters here, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Nominees are Carrie Coon, Fargo; Felicity Huffman, American Crime; Nicole Kidman, Big Little Lies; Jessica Lange, Feud, Betty and Joan; Susan Sarandon, Feud, Betty and Joan; and Reese Witherspoon, Big Little Lies. And I don't know if you were counting, folks, but that's 4 Oscar winners and 1 Oscar nominee. So 5 of the 6 Carrie Coon are Oscar nominees or winners.
Yeah, and who knows what kind of role Carrie Coon will have in The Post, which is Steven Spielberg's upcoming film, because if she has something there, she could find herself an Oscar nominee as well.
True. But here I have Nicole Kidman in first place. Then I have Jessica Lange in second, Susan Sarandon in third, Carrie Coon in fourth, Reese Witherspoon in fifth, and Felicity Huffman in sixth.
Okay, I have most of the same rankings. I definitely agree with you that Nicole Kidman is probably out front because of the two women from Big Little Lies. She really seems to have probably has a meatier role than Reese Witherspoon because, well, Kidman played the wife of an abusive husband. Though since Reese is nominated here as well, could they both cancel each other out? Well, I mean, well, it's possible. In fact, Amanda Spears, fellow Gold Derby contributor, recently had an article published on Gold Derby today saying, "Watch out, Nicole Kidman. Fargo star Carrie Coon is primed for Emmy upsets." And did you read it, Alex?
I did, yes. I think, Fargo hasn't had the best of luck in winning any of the acting categories for any of its seasons, so I think that could
Okay.
hurt it because we think someone's going to win big from Fargo. We thought everyone thought Billy Bob Thornton might win for Fargo, but Benedict Cumberbatch beat him for Sherlock that year.
Which was an upset.
And then same thing last year. Everyone thought Jean Smart was an easy lock to win for supporting actress in a limited series or movie, but then Regina King, surprise, just like she did in 2015 when everyone thought Sarah Paulson was a lock for American Horror Story Freak Show, but Regina King, she won there. And Regina King, she won under both the old and new systems of voting. So
yeah,
who knows what could happen? Well, of course, she's in a different category because I will say I was surprised to see Felicity Huffman back because I like everyone else assumed that sixth spot would be taken by Oprah Winfrey for The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks.
Same here.
Andrew Carden correctly predicted Felicity Huffman would get that spot and Oprah would not. But well, we could still see her at the Golden Globes and SAG Awards.
And Oprah will at least be presenting at the Emmys.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Hopefully she doesn't have to.
I'm sorry?
Hopefully she doesn't have to present her own category where she is nominated as a producer for Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, because if she has to present that category and her own movie loses, that would be awkward.
Oh, yeah, especially since she's a nominee there.
I imagine they'll give her an even bigger award like Outstanding Comedy or Drama Series, because you can't, with someone as big as Oprah, you can't give her something like being for a variety series, although I'm sure she'd provide a lot of dramatic attention before announcing the winner, no matter what she presents.
Oh, yeah. Yes. As for, well, yeah, Nicole Kidman I do have in first place. Carrie Coon I do have in second. Well, yes, it may be, I'm not, well, yeah. Well, to your point, well, yes, Fargo still has yet to win an acting award, but still, I mean, again, to the points Amanda Spears made, where Coon's character on Fargo is kind of like Frances McDormand's character in the original film of Fargo, which of course won her the Oscar. And of course, there is potential vote splitting where, yes, I think vote splitting may happen a little more likely to Jessica Lange and Susan Sarandon. I mean, Lange has obviously been an Emmy darling as of late, and Sarandon is overdue for a win. So they may split the vote for their performances as Hollywood icons Joan Crawford and Bette Davis. And not to mention, another thing that could help Coon is not only her performance on Fargo, but also her work on HBO's The Leftovers, which never really caught on with the Emmys, but it recently ended its run this past season. So, again, we've seen instances like this happen at several award shows where if you have more than one, most notably have more than one project in the same year, that visibility factor wouldn't hurt.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's true. I mean, well, Nicole Kidman does have that to a certain degree because she had the Beguiled earlier this year, plus, of course, her Oscar nomination for Lion, and then she has just coming up a film called Sacred Deer, which played at the Cannes Film Festival. So, and then Reese Witherspoon, she had Home Again, but that's not going to help her because that film didn't do well with critics. Plus, her character's more of the unlikable one, I guess, in Big Little Lies, because always has to meddle in everyone's affairs. She needs to get all the gossip. Plus, she's cheating on. It's revealed she cheated on her husband. Spoiler alert. Whereas Nicole Kidman, she has to go through. You see her go through the motions of trying to decide whether to stay in an abusive marriage or leave, because she goes through all the motions of trying to justify her and then finally deciding, okay, enough is enough. So you see her go through the kind of motions probably many abused wives go through.
Yes.
And plus, yeah, so, and yeah, and plus, you know, Nicole Kidman, she's been nominated for an Emmy a few times before, but she's never won. And, you know, I mean, and it's well known that Emmy voters do love big movie stars, especially like Oscar winners or nominees in the limited series or movie categories.
Well, yes. So, well, yes, like we saw with Kathy Bates winning, we saw with, of course, Jessica Lange being an example of this when she won for American Horror Story.
Yeah, that's true. All right, I gotta get up again real quick because my dogs are getting antsy up there because it's their dinner time.
Okay, so I guess while you do that, I can say that another point Amanda Spears made in her article why she thinks it's possible Carrie Coon could upset is because she actually is kind of, I guess, another example of being the one apple in the bag of oranges. Like, these are all Oscar winners, and Felicity Huffman being an Oscar nominee. Yeah, Carrie Coon is the more fresh face of the nominees. So I guess she's another example of someone who's been working a long time, has paid her dues, and is really only around this time is finally getting her due in the spotlight. So even though I'm not predicting her, I mean, I guess she is someone who probably shouldn't be counted out. I mean, like I said, I have Nicole Kidman winning. If I was an Emmy voter, I'd be voting for her.
All right, hold on just a second. Rascal, come here. Come on, Rascal. Come get your food before Moose eats it. All right. All right. So, all right. Now that's taken care of. I'm all alone, so I'm having to do all the dog responsibilities myself. So, I mean, Carrie Coon, she probably could possibly win, but I just think Nicole Kidman's role is probably too much to ignore. It's too big for Emmy voters to ignore.
I agree. Which is one reason I am predicting her. So on to the next category, which is outstanding lead actor in a limited series movie. The nominees are Riz Ahmed, The Night Of; Benedict Cumberbatch, Sherlock, The Lying Detective; Robert De Niro, The Wizard of Lies; Ewan McGregor, Fargo; Jeffrey Rush, Genius; John Turturro, The Night Of. So I guess, all right. So who do you have in your rankings?
All right, I have Riz Ahmed in first place, Robert De Niro in second, Ewan McGregor in third, John Turturro in fourth, Jeffrey Rush in fifth, and Benedict Cumberbatch in sixth.
Okay, I have the same top three. I think Riz Ahmed probably has, is a benefit of, enjoying a banner year, not only with The Night Of, but also his supporting role in Rogue One, a Star Wars story. So yeah, I guess also given how well The Night Of did at the Creative Arts, even though they're all separate branches, I guess, I mean, I guess he's definitely not worth being counted out. Yeah, I do have him winning. Though, again, so many of these men would seem in any other year have a great shot winning this, like Robert De Niro, film legend, being at the Emmys for the very first time as Bernie Sanders. There's Jeffrey Rush.
Bernie Madoff.
Oh, Bernie Madoff. Sorry, I have no idea. But yeah, there's also Jeffrey Rush, a previous Emmy winner for The Life and Death of Peter Sellers, not again this year for his performance as Albert Einstein. Though, of course, if you watch this series, Genius, well, he's not in most of it. I mean, he's in a good deal, but he's not like he's in every episode. And then there's Ewan McGregor, who personally he would have my vote because he's nominated for playing two brothers on the third season of Fargo, two different characters. So he'd have my vote, but I mean, again, I have to be realistic in my predictions. He's my third place choice, though. Jeffrey Rush I do have in fourth, Benedict Cumberbatch in fifth, and John Turturro in sixth.
Yeah, I was kind of torn between Riz Ahmed and Robert De Niro because they both seemed kind of neck and neck. But then, following the night of's big success at the Creative Arts, I decided to go with Riz Ahmed. If it hadn't been that way, I might have picked Robert De Niro because, again, of the movie star Oscar winner factor and the fact that this is probably Robert De Niro's most acclaimed performance in a very long time, probably since Silver Linings Playbook. So that's 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Because it thankfully restored my faith in him as an actor because Dirty Grandpa was one of the worst movies I ever saw in my life when I saw that movie last year. Oh, I swear to God, if he was not nominated for a Razzie, I would have been like Charles Bright freaking out when Margot Martindale won another Emmy for The Americans. because Robert De Niro's performance in Dirty Grandpa, it's so disgusting and so offensive that it is the definition of Razzie performance. But just Dirty Grandpa. Everyone I know, including me, ranked it as the worst film of 2016.
Well, yeah, De Niro is certainly known for phoning it in a lot of the time.
Well, I mean, nowadays, yes, but I mean, in like 70s and 80s, and for the most part, the 90s, he was on fire.
Well, yes, I meant in recent years, obviously.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe Robert De Niro could still pull an upset for the reasons I state of Oscar winner and a movie star, and he's playing a real life person. But I think I think it'll win. I think Riz Ahmed will win because not only because of the Creative Arts Awards, but the fact that he's playing a Muslim character and he's Muslim in real life. I'm assuming many of them are liberal. If they feel that this is a way for them to not only honor Riz Ahmed just for the craft of acting, but as a way to give Donald Trump the middle finger because of his immigration policies. Airing in the midst of the presidential election last year certainly makes it very relevant because it not only deals with, Islamophobia, but just the treatment of prisoners in general. And that was a big factor in the presidential debates about about how prison inmates, especially those of color, are treated, and the fact that there's way more inmates of color than white inmates, often due to racial profiling and systemic racism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
it's a very hot button issue miniseries, very relevant for the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a good point. So on to supporting actress, shall we?
Yes. Hold on a sec. Where's my cursor here? All right. Let me just get this. Okay. So the nominees for supporting actress in a limited series or movie are Judy Davis, Feud, Betty and Joan; Laura Dern, Big Little Lies; Jackie Hoffman, Feud, Betty and Joan; Regina King, American Crime; Michelle Pfeiffer, The Wizard of Lies; and Shailene Woodley, Big Little Lies.
Okay, so Regina King has already won this award for the last 2 years, which I believe they were surprised on both factors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
so
don't think she'll win this time. I have ranked. I have Judy Davis in first place, Laura Dern in second, Shailene Woodley in third, Regina King in fourth, Jackie Hoffman in fifth, and Michelle Pfeiffer in sixth.
oh, okay, this is probably the one, at least one, probably the one category where you and I most differ. First place, I have Laura Dern. I think, of the two, she's a veteran actress who's overdue for an Emmy, and she may also have help from her role in the recent Showtime miniseries Twin Peaks. Regina King, I have in second. I guess as a result of vote splitting, again, she won this award twice, and they were both surprises. So, I guess it'd be hard to bet against her. But even though I'm not predicting her, third place, I have Michelle Pfeiffer because, again, I guess one, vote splitting, and two, well, she actually stood out to me on The Wizard of Oz. Fourth place, who I personally would put in a good word for, is Shailene Woodley because not only was she more of a lead on Big Little Lies, but she probably benefits from playing a rape victim. And fifth place, I have Judy Davis for Feud, Betty and Joan, and sixth place, Jackie Hoffman for Feud.
All right. Well, I have Judy Davis in first place because I feel that Emmy voters will want to honor at least one of the Feud actors just because there's so many, and so many of them are these working for many decades. And originally I was going to predict Alfred Molina, but I did change. But then I went with who I did predict in the supporting actor category, which I'll kind of talk about more why I predict that person when we get to him, because he kind of follows a trend of characters that Emmy voters love to reward. But for Judy Davis, I'm giving her the win because she's won, I believe, 3 times before limited series.
Well, I know one of them was for Judy Garland.
I know which one she won. I know she won for Serving in Silence, the Marguerite Kammermeyer story. That was her first. Her second, and her one of the best portrayals of a real life person I've ever seen in any medium, was her performance as Judy Garland in Life with Judy Garland, Me and My Shadows. And then her third one was for The Starter Wife, and then she's been nominated for several more things. And here she's again playing a real life person. She's playing legendary gossip columnist Hedda Hopper, and that combined with the fact that Hedda Hopper changes her tune from being first an ally of Joan Crawford to then being kind of an enemy of her when she threatens to expose the fact that Joan Crawford starred in a snuff film in her youth, and Joan's starting to freak out and do anything she can to keep that from ever hitting the public eye. The fact that she's changing her alliance all the time kind of gives her range, and just the fact that Emmy voters love her so much, kind of like how they love Jessica Lange, can give her an advantage. And then as for my second place pick, I put Laura Dern in second because she was fantastic, but I feel Emmy voters may not feel that her character doesn't have enough of a range, because her character Renata is this very hyper protective doctor mom who's very, she's like very dramatic in every scene she's in, and it's not a bad thing, but I can see how some Emmy voters might feel her character is very one-sided.
Well,
if voters want more range. So, and then I have Shailene Woodley in third because again, she has a lot of range to her character of she was a rape victim, and the fact that she, is trying to find the man who raped her and confront him, and the fact that she has to deal with her son might be a school bully because she feels that he's not, but she doesn't have any definitive proof that he's not. So she has to go based on her instinct and what everyone else says. And Shailene Woodley, she's one of those actresses who brings a lot more range than you might think an actress of her age would, because actresses in their mid-20s aren't always highly regarded for being very good at dramatic range, but she is. She was, when she was only like 20, she gave a fantastic performance in The Descendants. Regina King, I put it in fourth place because of the past 2 years and could well win again. And then I put Jackie Hoffman in fifth because became like the fan favorite of Feud Betty and Joan, and she really material, especially when dealing with Joan Crawford. I love the way how Mamacita would always stand up to her.
Mm-hmm.
Pfeiffer in sixth, simply because I guess the Wizard of Lies didn't perform as wide as people would have expected it to.
Well, okay, you might have convinced. Well, yeah, I just did a little rearranging. I moved Judy Davis up to third and Michelle Pfeiffer down to fifth.
All right. Yeah. Well, personally, if I were an Emmy voter, I'd vote for Shailene Woodley, and I did vote for her for the Gold Derby TV Awards.
Same here.
All right. So next is movie miniseries supporting actor.
Yes, so it's my turn to read the nominees here. And they are Bill Camp, The Night Of, Alfred Molina, Feud, Betsy and Joan, Alexander Skarsgård, Big Little Lies, David Thewlis, Fargo, Stanley Tucci, Feud, Betsy and Joan, Michael Kenneth Williams, The Night Of.
All right, so I have Alexander Skarsgård in first place, Alfred Molina in second, David Thewlis in third, Michael Kenneth Williams in fourth, Stanley Tucci in fifth, and Bill Camp in sixth.
Okay, unlike the last category, I have most of the same rankings. I guess the only difference is I have Stanley Tucci in fourth and Michael Kenneth Williams in fifth.
I would have probably ranked Stanley Tucci higher if The Night Of didn't win as well as it did at the Creative Arts, and because it did, I decided to put Michael Kenneth Williams higher just from all that I've heard of his performance and the clips that I've seen on like YouTube and stuff. Plus he was nominated a few years ago in this category for Bessie, so clearly Emmy voters are aware of who he is.
This is true.
Originally, I would have probably picked Alfred Molina to win because he's the veteran actor, worked for a long time. He's never won an Emmy. But then I picked Alexander Skarsgård because long tradition of wanting to reward actors who play just these vicious, unlikable characters who you just want to punch in the face.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's unlike the Oscars where they're more interested in the winking devil, not the devil, but it's a difference here at the Emmys.
Because and he's and he's like out in his character is like that the abusive husband who always tries to go, "Oh, I'm sorry, I won't do it again," but then when he does, he always blames his wife, saying it's her fault that he made beat her up. She made him beat her up. He's trying to manipulate her, and he's just a very disgusting character.
Mm-hmm. Well, yes, though. Yes, so yeah, I do have Skarsgård winning, though Molina, who I have in second place, I guess of the two men from Feud, he may have the edge for the fact that he played a very sympathetic character.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and David Thewlis, he did give a scene-stealing performance as the villain on the third season of Fargo. So, again, no actor from Fargo has ever won an acting award. I mean, we'll see if that will continue to be the case. But again, he does fit more of the mold of the winking devil.
Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't really see the third season of Fargo, so I can't performance, but of course I always remember him as Professor Lupin in the Harry Potter films.
Yeah. So, I did recently watch the third season of Fargo, and first time I ever watched the series at all. But in any case, I really do think he might have a shot. I'm not predicting it, but I could totally see him winning. But on to the next category, which is outstanding directing a movie miniseries.
All right, and the nominees are Jean-Marc Vallée for all 7 episodes of Big Little Lies, for the Fargo episode, The Law of Vacant Places. Ryan Murphy for the Feud Betty and Joan episode, and the winner is the Oscars of 1963. Ron Howard for the Genius episode, Einstein.
You there? I mean, you froze. Hello? Hello? So, I guess while we wait for him to come back, I guess I should. Well, yeah, the nominees are The Art of War from The Night of, Law of Vacant Places from Fargo, The Beach from The Night of, Einstein Chapter 1 from Genius, and the winner is from Feud, Betty and Joan, and Big Little Lies. So hopefully, Alex, are you there? You mean you froze. But in any case, I guess my rankings, I have Big Little Lies out front. I think Jean-Marc Vallée could probably benefit from, well, have like how Suzanne Bier pulled an upset in this category last year for The Night Manager. You know, her being, I believe, a past recipient of the Foreign Language Film Oscar, taking on all episodes of a miniseries. So yeah, Jean-Marc Vallée kind of fits that mold. You know, he's made several films that were recognized by the Academy, most notably Dallas Buyers Club, which won Matthew McConaughey and Jared Leto Oscars. Though, of course, I keep an eye out on Feud, Betty and Joan, which, of course, again, that episode was, especially if you go on YouTube, there's side-by-side video of the real Oscars of 1963 and the events recreated on that episode. Though I guess Ron Howard, who has won at least an Emmy or two in the past, I guess maybe he shouldn't be counted out for Genius. So I guess the beach episode of The Night of probably is the one of the two episodes for The Night of that's a little more likely to prevail. And Alex, are you there? Hold on 1 minute, please. Okay, so okay. Yeah. So I'm just gonna message him real quick. So I guess the next category is outstanding writing for a limited series or movie. So again, bear with me here. Then the nominees are Big Little Lies by David E. Kelley, Black Mirror, San Junipero by Charlie Brooker, Fargo for the Law of Vacant Places by Noah Hawley, Feud, Betty and Joan, and the winner is The Oscars of 1963 by Ryan Murphy, Feud, Betty and Joan, Pilot by Jaffe Cohen, Michael Zam, and Ryan Murphy, and The Night of, The Call of the Wild by Richard Price and Steven Zalian. All right, so then again, so I have Big Little Lies in first place, The Night of in second. I think if it were in either writing, or I think if that show were to win either writing or directing, writing is probably a little more likely. Feud, Betty, well, okay, Feud is probably going to cancel itself out, but I do have the Oscar episode in third place, as well as the pilot in sixth, Black Mirror in fourth, and Fargo in fifth. So hopefully hear back from Alex soon. Let me see. Well, I guess this makes for one awkward ending to the discussion on the limited series and movie categories. So I guess try your best in predicting the winners here. And hopefully you should be back soon. Bye.